Welcome, everybody. Brother Dan Goodwin here. This is Prosperity News. We're glad you're with us today. And we're going to talk about an interesting, kind of a sobering topic today. We're going to talk about Islam. We're going to talk about the Muslims. We're going to learn the difference between a Sunni and a Shiite, if I said that right. A whole bunch of things like that. I'll introduce a guest to you in just a moment, but let me read a passage in the Word of God. Genesis chapter 16. I want to give you the beginnings of the Arab nations. And of course, most of the Muslims come through the Arab race. Let me read a verse to you here, a couple of verses here. Chapter 16, verse 12 says, "He will be a wild man, his hand shall be against every man." This, of course, is talking about Ishmael. His hand shall be against every man. Isn't that true, huh? And every man's hand shall be against him, and he shall dwell in the presence of all his brethren. She called the name of she called the name of the Lord that spake unto her, Thou God seest me, for she said, Have I also here looked after him that seeth me? And verse 15, and Hagar bare Abram a son, and Abram called his son's name, which Hagar bare, Ishmael. And you all know the story of Ishmael, right? And he's Isaac's the son of promise, we call it. Of course, the Bible calls he's the promised son that God promised Abraham. Ishmael is the son born of Hagar, because Abraham lost faith, gave his handmaid to Sarah, or Sarah gave her handmaid to Abraham, and a child was born, and this is him, Ishmael. He's going to become the father of the Arab races. Then it says here, verse 15, Hagar bare Abram a son. Abram called his son's name, which she bare Ishmael. And Abram was 86 years old when Hagar bare Ishmael to Abram. All right, so that's the beginning of the Arab race. Now, I've got a guest with me today, and I want to introduce him to you, Brother Kamal Shalim.
Honor meeting you, Brother
we're
Dan.
glad that you came into the studio today.
Thank you for having me. God bless you.
Yeah, this is going to be fun. This is going to be great. It's kind of sobering too. I
got
to be honest.
Glory.
I got to be honest. This is some sobering stuff, some serious stuff.
Yes, sir.
Now, you've produced a couple of DVDs, and Prosperity News has them on their website. You got the Unveiling, and there's two sets here. You got the Ugly Truth, which is mostly what we're going to talk about today.
Which is about the Islamic extremists and what they've done to America and why they came to destroy the West and how much they destroyed out of America. 6 DVD session of 6 hours.
Okay, so over 6 hours, and good stuff. And also, General Boykin is on these.
Yes, General Jerry Boykin and myself, we were hunting each other lives, in real life. And
literally, he was after you, and you was after him.
He was not after me, but he knew about our group, and he cursed, the God of Islam, so we're coming after him. But today, me and him, we fight in the name of Jesus Christ, and we fight this radical Islamist things that's swooping the earth right now.
By the way, excellent quality. These were done high class, high quality stuff here.
Yes, sir.
And so there's 12 hours, actually. There's 12 sessions, an hour each.
Correct.
On 2 separate sets.
Yeah, the second one is the beautiful truth. What is God plan for Ishmael redemption in the last days? And that is a powerful one with General Jerry and also several others.
All right, so we're going to talk about these today with Brother Kamal. And let's just jump into this. We've been taught that Muhammad married a 6-year-old girl.
Correct.
And possibly didn't consummate the marriage till she was 9, whatever. Is that true?
Yes, it is. And it's in the Sirah, Sira, which is the biography of Muhammad. And it's also in the Hadith, which is Haida, which is the traditions of Muhammad. And so therefore you'll find out there that Muhammad asked Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, which is his first caliph after Muhammad's death. He asked him for his daughter hand, and she was 6 years old. And her father interceded before Muhammad. He said, don't sleep with her until she gets her first period. And then you can consummate your marriage. But she was married with him, and from that age on. So when you look at this today, anything that Muhammad did physically and he did not speak on it's permissible to the Muslim. So a 60-year-old man, Muslim man, can marry a 6-year-old woman today. And anything that he said or he didn't say, but he did, it's very
Now,
permissible.
let me ask you this. How do Muslims believe that that's true?
Yes, especially if the Muslim studied Islam and they really lived in the Muslim world like my family. We believe in that wholeheartedly because you see, you got to understand that the Quran says the best image of Allah, on earth is Muhammad. Muhammad is the reflection image of Allah in a way. So what Muhammad does, Allah wants him to do this. So therefore, all of us must be like Muhammad.
Okay, so a Muslim growing up in America compared to a Muslim growing up in Lebanon, where you grew up, there's got to be a difference. Aren't they kind of been affected by our society here and our morals and values here?
Correct. And we need to understand, that's why it's very understand that what is a radical Islam. Because the radical Muslim always thrives and they really feed on the moderate Muslims, meaning when a mosque is built and the moderate Muslim come in to do one of the 5 prayers during the day or evening, the radical try to lower him in, especially if they are weak in character or if they have physical issue or whatever. They lower them in, and afterward they take them in and they rally around that child until they become grafting. They graft into that spirit. It's called an orphan spirit. So they graft them into that orphan spirit and they make them in their image. And now, sooner or later, he will believe everything that they believe. The biggest recruitment of radical takes place in the mosques. The mosque is not a church.
Would it be fair for an analogy like a gang? Gangs today, they bring new people in and they kind of work them over. Would that be a good analogy of
Absolutely.
what you're talking about?
You're absolutely right.
So they're making that new person they're bringing in feel like he wants to be part of this big gang.
Correct.
And so,
because it's not whether what is wrong and what is right, what you're doing. It's not based on couth and character and all the good things. It's based on what the team drive for. It doesn't matter because in the teaching of Islamic teaching in the Hadith, the traditions of Muhammad says al-harbu khud'a, meaning war is a deception. So therefore, it's lawful to deceive, the enemy, and anyone is not in our likeness is not our friend. So we have the right to deceive them.
So let's back up a little here and start at the beginning. We hear the term Muslims. We hear all kinds of terms. Remember, we're Americans.
Yes.
We didn't grow up like you did.
Correct.
And most of our audience doesn't understand a lot of this.
Yes.
And that's one reason I wanted to bring you in. I thought, man, we're in a bad time. We're in a dangerous time.
Yes, we are.
Anything could happen.
Islam is not going to leave. It's going to stay till the end of time.
I think people don't understand. Don't know what people don't understand this stuff. So let's see if we can help them. Explain define a Muslim and define Islam.
Okay. So it's very important to understand it's not like Christianity. Christianity is a way to follow in relationship with Christ to become in his likeness. But in Islam, it's different. Islam is the slave master. That's the religion. Muslim are the slave that Islam begot them, so they have to surrender their life and their sacred honor to follow everything that Islam tells them. In Islam, Allah is not looking for sons or daughters or a family. He's looking for slaves. As a matter of fact, you could not please Allah without, jihad. Jihad is the cornerstone of Islam, and not just that, but the highest level of jihad is to offer your blood as a sacrifice, to die for the sake of Allah. Just like in the old days when they used to die for Molech and Baal.
I don't think most of your modern American Muslims would say that, though. They'll say we don't believe in jihad. We're peaceful.
Well, there are 3 kinds of Muslims. There are the jihadists, which is we call them Islamist or radical or terrorists for that reason. And then we have the second brand, which is they pretend to be moderate. These are the elements, and they keep the gate open for the radical to enter in, to say not all Muslims are like this. Many Muslims are good Muslims. These are hijacked Islam. As a matter of fact, Islam hijacked terrorists. So that is the opposite. So therefore, and the third brand is these Muslims that they have left Islam and they have nothing to do with Islam. Statistically today, 48%, 46 to 48% of American Muslims are dissatisfied and disconnected with Islam. So therefore, they are defecting to Christianity. So we are seeing great conversion
Wow.
of Muslims.
All right, so let's see if we got this straight for the audience here. Is it correct to say that Islam is to Islamists what Christianity is to Christians? It's the religion. Is Islam considered, the definition of Islam, is it religion?
Okay. Islam, it is only 14% of it is religion. The 82% is a political system, is a military system, is a court system, is a civil, is Sharia system. It's all other system. Only 14% of Islam is religion.
So Islam is a system or
It's a system,
governing
correct.
thing.
It's not a religion, because when you look at Islam and you look at Sharia itself, you'll find there is no, religion is the minority of it, and all of it. For example, Allah, the God of Quran, says, وَمَكَرُوا وَمَكَرَ اللَّهُ وَاللَّهُ خَيْرُ الْمَاكِرِينَ. Meaning, Allah have deceived, the Jews and the Christian have deceived, but Allah also deceived, but He said, I am the greatest deceiver. So therefore, He commend His people to deceive their enemy and not to become friend with their enemy. So therefore, it is the opposite polar of Christianity. It looks like, it sounds like, it moves like, but it is not. But that we need to define, we need to make sure that Islam, my war is against Islam, is not against Muslims. Muslims are made in the image of God. They're Gentile. They're the son of Ishmael. They have heart. They have feeling like me and you. But Islam has enslaved them and told them how to live their life.
Islam's not a person. It's not a thing. It's a system.
It's a system.
All right. So now you already mentioned the Muslim, but define a Muslim for somebody who's struggling with this.
A Muslim in Islam, when you're born to a Muslim family, you're a Muslim. So therefore, if you convert from Islam, Muhammad says, whoever leave Islam, kill him.
Yeah.
It's a command. In Christianity, for example, it's the opposite. You're born to a Christian family. You could not be a Christian until you're born again.
Right.
Until you confess that Jesus Christ died on the cross, He died for your sin, that He rose again, that baptism, all of these are simple rules. You have, to say, you activate, while this one, you're active already. So this one is an action, faith action.
Right.
This one, you're born into it, and it's within your life.
So a Muslim, it's not a race, or is it?
Well, it is not a race, because we have Indonesian, we have Filipinos, we have Chinese, we have Russian. Islam is
So can a Gentile decide to be a Muslim?
Yes.
How does one become a Muslim?
Conversion is in Islam, there's 5 pillars. The first pillar is to say there's no God but Allah, Muhammad, His prophet. So this is the Shahada.
So is Muslim kind of like I say I'm a Christian? Would that be like saying in Islam, would Muslim be like saying I'm a Christian in the Muslim world?
Correct. A Muslim will say I'm a Muslim in Muslim world, just like the Christian would say so.
Okay, so anybody could become a Muslim, even though you can be born one, but you can also become grafted.
Become one, yes. Just like we see the guy who John the Taliban, who went and fought with the Taliban. He was an American student, and he was grafted into the radical Muslim, and he was sent, and he became a Muslim, but yet he was Christian at one time.
All right, now let's go a little further here. I'm trying to keep this on the bottom shelf, because I got to be honest, I'm probably almost as ignorant as most other people are. I'm learning as I go too. So I want the audience to get the basics of what this.
Yes, sir.
These are all in the DVDs, by the way. You'll sit down, you'll hear him talking with General Boykin back and forth. Good quality, good picture, good sound, everything, and very interesting. So let's go a little further here. We hear about over in Iraq, if there wasn't ever any Iraq wars, we wouldn't know any of this stuff over here, but we've learned that there's such a thing as a Sunni and a Shiite.
Correct.
Now, what's the difference in those? Those are all Muslims, right?
Yes, they are. We need to understand that this goes to the bloodlines. All of them are the sons of Abraham.
So now we're into the families and
Yes.
bloodlines.
Because we need to understand that what we're dealing here is the family of Father Abraham.
Yeah.
So we recognize that Abraham married. He was married to Sarah, and the Jewish people came out of Sarah, and then we see out of Hagar, Ishmael came, and the Sunni came out of Ishmael. So the majority of the Sunni came from Ishmael, but then we found out that Abraham married Keturah. Keturah, she had 6 sons, and this is where the Shia is today.
Oh.
So Iran and what so have you. But this is the bloodline because it's a clash of a culture. This is a family feud issue. This has nothing to do with God, but everything to do with people.
And it's nothing to do about character and growth. It's all about, I came from that family, therefore I'm better than you.
And that's the split between Shia and Sunni. So when we see Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, who Muhammad married his first, his daughter, who is 6 years old, what happened? These called the Sahaba. What is Sahaba? Are the friend of Muhammad, the one they follow him like apostles, but they have nothing to do with like apostleship. But what is the Shia? The Shia are the bloodline of Muhammad. So when we look at the youngest daughter of Muhammad, the only one she lived, and she married his nephew Ali. And so what happened when they got married? They had 2 sons, Hassan and Hussein. So what happened? Upon the death of Muhammad, there was a clash between these people and these people. These people said, well, we were his friend and he gave it to us, and we were married into him from the very beginning, and we made our tradition in his tradition. While this one said, well, we are the bloodline. So the Shia are the bloodline, and the Sunnis are the one they walked with Muhammad. And that's the clash between the two.
Now, the obvious question, which one of them groups is the good guys, or is it neither nor?
Well, I'd say, the Shia were going to go to hell, and the Sunni going to go to heaven because I was Sunni.
When you were growing up over there.
I was Sunni,
because
yes.
You were Sunni, so you were Sunni.
Yes, I was Sunni.
I was going to ask that next.
And the Sunnis are the majority.
So whichever one you are, you think the other one's the bad guys.
Well, the Sunnis are about 78% to 79% of the Muslim world.
Also, most of the Muslim world is Sunni.
Yes, but yet the Shia, they're minimum brand, but they are Iran, part of Iraq, part of Yemen, part of Syria, and Hezbollah in Lebanon. And these are the radical. Hamas is following the Hezbollah, so Hamas, these are becoming a radical movement.
And one guy with a machine gun can handle 20 guys without a machine gun, is what you're saying there.
10, according to the teacher Muhammad. 1 man against 10.
I was just joking, man. You're serious.
Yes, it's in Hadith.
Really?
Yes.
I know some Hadith, and I didn't even know it. Well, all right. So, but my real question was this: from an American point of view, and we all heard about the Iraq War, and they said, well, we want to put a Shiite in or a Sunni, and over here we're trying to figure out what's the difference and which one's the good. Is from an American Christian point of view, is there one group that's more right than the other, or more moral, or?
Well, both of them are warring against the established Islamization. You see, Islam is trying to establish one world order under Allah, just like the one world order under Marxism or
so
socialism.
So the Sunni and the Shiites are both pushing for that.
Both, yes,
so
correct. So my brother and my brother against my cousin.
Yeah.
But when trouble comes, me and my cousin against my neighbor.
Yeah.
Or me and my neighbor and my cousin against the enemy.
One of them maybe isn't so radicalized, but he's got the same goal.
They kill each other. If I go in depth of the teaching, which is I teach on this, and the teaching about the deities and the bloodline and what so have you, you see the Shia, they go to 100 flavors. And then you see the Sunni, they go to hundreds of flavors too. These flavors are fighting among each other all the time, killing each other.
Didn't I read that at the beginning? His hand should be against every man.
Well, this is against each other.
Right.
And because at the end of the day, one flavor saying we are the right one and you are not. So they're killing their brothers in the name of we are the right one. So therefore they are sifting each other, but yet they're clashing with one another.
If they all ever got together on this, we'd be doomed.
But yet they united together. Like we see Erdogan Tayyip, the president of Turkey today, he is uniting everybody, the Shia and the Sunni, under the OIC, Organization Islamic Conference, which is trying to establish one world ummah to really seize the world, under Turkey, which is the Ottoman Empire all over again.
Let's real quickly folks, if you'd like to get a copy of there's so much more in these. We're just scratching the surface. And
12 hours.
And I'll tell you why we're scratching the surface, because I think most of us don't understand the basics of this. And that's why I'm spending so much time on these simple little things. There's so much more in these. Folks, just go to the website. Rex will put it up there on the screen if you'd like to get your own copy of these DVDs. There's 12 hours here, 6 hours on each one. Excellent quality. I mean, Hollywood quality.
Churches are showing them all over the nation. They're playing them on Wednesday nights. Cell group are teaching on them at home. Even homeschoolers are teaching on them.
All right. You can go to the website, prophecynews.com. You can buy it with right there anytime, 24 hours a day. That's open. Or you can, during business hours, call that 800 number on the screen, and you can order these by phone. Brother Kamal, let's go a little further. You told, or on here, I wrote this down. When I was watching this, you made the statement that Muhammad died before the Quran was written. I thought
Correct.
that was interesting. Share a little bit about that.
Yeah, when Muhammad died, he did not write the Quran. He did not say who's going to come and abrogate, take his place, who's going to, take in his power. It was 60 years after his death. It was written the first time by his third Caliph, Osman bin Affan. So therefore, when he did this, what happened is it was not punctuated at that time. And they didn't know which book came first, which one Muhammad spoke about, the first, the second, the third. So they took them and they put them from the smallest to the biggest. And then they took many surah, which is books that they felt and they believed they're too demonically possessive, and they did not incorporate them in the books. So therefore, even though you find in the Quran today, there's a book called the Book of Demons, the jinns, where Muhammad encountered the demons and he led them to Islam. They converted under him to Islam, in that book. So you'll find a lot of this stuff, it does not congeal altogether. It was hundreds of years later when it was punctuated for the first time and reorchestrated for the first time. So the Quran was not written the first time by Muhammad.
Okay, and I bet most Muslims probably don't have an understanding of that.
Well, you have to come from an Islamist background, which is you understand the depth of Islam and grew up in it and understand and studying it. By the time I was 12 years old, I read the Quran 3 times. I was trying to learn it by heart.
Okay. You said in the DVDs that I watched, this was interesting. The audience will like it. Did I hear this right? I'm trying to read my own writing here. I think it's deceived. Was Muhammad deceived by a woman?
Was he deceived by a woman?
Did a woman trick him or something, or somehow lead to his death?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Muhammad, the way he died, he was poisoned by a Jewish woman.
Right.
The Jewish woman he captured she was captured one of his war. So she was captured through those war and won to Islam. And his favorite, his favorite part of the lamb was the right shoulder and the left shoulder. That's his favorite piece of meat. And so therefore, one day she gave him a poisoned piece of meat, shoulder, and he bit into it, and 2 other people bit into it, and they said, Muhammad said, this one tastes like a poison went into my system, this is poison. And the other one said, we ate after you because you ate. So because you ate, we ate. So they followed him, and they were poisoned to death as well. But upon his bed of death, Muhammad brought her in. He said, why did you do this to me, woman? She said to him, if you are a true prophet of Islam, you'd have known that this was poisoned.
Wow.
But if you were not, if you did not know, then I destroyed, one of the biggest deceiver, the one who is not a prophet.
That's interesting. That a Jewish woman.
A Jewish woman,
caused Now, you didn't die right away. I think it was a couple years.
It took a couple of years, and he changed in color. From his color,
did he ever retaliate against her?
The teaching says he did not. He forgave her because she was captured through war. She
did have a good point. If you're a real prophet, you'd know.
You would have known, yes. But even the people, you see, the people saw him doing what he did, and they did exactly what he did, and they died too.
Well, we're down to 2 or 3 minutes, but we haven't got far enough. Radicalization, that's a new term, right? That's a new word that came up after 9/11. explain what's meant by the term he was radicalized, or
When you say he's radicalized, who are we talking
a,
about?
A Muslim.
Well, the difference between radical Muslim and non-radical, the radical Muslim believe that he must fulfill everything Muhammad commanded him to do, and bring about jihad, because jihad split to many different flavors. One of them,
Would it be considered like an extremist? Is that a good term?
an extremist that who's willing to kill himself and be killed.
All right. So
That's an extremist.
how come how come this word, I think it was during the Obama administration that the word radicalized came into being. I'd never heard it before. Had you?
Well, of course, we don't call it radicalize.
Right. That's what I mean. The term radicalized, I first heard President Obama or somebody say it.
Well, they trying to say, in the Obama era, unfortunately, the Muslim Brotherhood were in the White House. They were changing the White House, and they had iftar with President Obama, which is they did the month of Ramadan. When Obama replaced the National Day of Prayer with Ramadan, and so therefore the radical remnant, Muslim Brotherhood, they became part of this, and they start splitting everything as we speak in those DVDs. That he allowed them under Robert Mueller to remove over 1,000 curriculum from the FBI that where they go after Muslim, nominal Muslims. So the Muslim could not be a radical.
Right.
A radical is something different. Islamist is a terrorist. Muslim cannot be a terrorist. Terrorist is somebody who does not believe in Islam. So they subjugated that and separated that. Now to change the American culture, and who helped them with this is the media helped them with this, and Hollywood helped them with this, and those mountain of influence really start helping the Muslim Brotherhood to move
Right.
into those place of power.
We're down to 1 minute, and I hope that folks have been helped. I hope that I haven't been too simple. I've kept this way down on the bottom shelf.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Do Muslims and Jews and Christians worship the same God?
No,
They do not.
no. That's on my list here. We were going to get to.
Yes.
And,
And why is that? And if you look at the God of Islam and God of heaven and earth, Jehovah God Almighty, He created man in His image. So this God who referred to Himself as Allah, and what happened, and it's His character and His deity is not the same, this character, and He created man in His image.
Right.
So they could not be the same
right.
God.
Well, listen, we could go on and on. Praise the Lord. Well, listen, come back again. We're gonna talk to Brother Kamal again next week. Until then, keep looking up.